of my films are about, well, they're kind of, we call this hybrid. They're kind of fictional, but documentary, but they're in between. So a lot of the scenes were written, like as a script, but then sometimes I wait for things to happen to kind of to make it fill. And I use documentary elements as an establishment shot. So you know where you are and who you are going to be seeing, and then everything else is written in later, yeah. The writing probably took like, I don't know, like a couple of days.
A couple of days?
Yeah, I can spend all day on this thing. I got things to do. No, I like, no, I'm a visual artist. I'm a trained photographer, printmaker, painter, sculptor, whatever. So I like looking at visual art first, and then I kind of make films around that, like as opposed to watching movies. Think about the content first. Like I think about what I want to say formally, like what materials, and so I want to make a film about the election, and then I figure out what materials I would use. And then I figure what kind of film stocks, what kind of cameras, what kind of whatnot. And then so that kind of goes into the content of it. So it's kind of like a painter. Like, painter has like the easel, the canvas, and the paint brushes. And for me, I have the tripod, the camera, and then I have certain kind of film stocks or lenses to kind of render their image. Yeah, so for me, it's the same process, whatever, yeah. But most times when I use black and white film, I'm trying to hide contemporary, because when people see color, they think it's happening now. But when I use black and white film, it could be right now, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, so to speak. So when Consular Park is black and white, and then for me, it's more about the 2008 election, like when Obama was first elected, than more in 2016 election, so to speak. So by watching it, you can't tell what year it is. Maybe some of the clothes, but not really, and because there's no technology in it. Well, there is no phones and nothing like that. So I use black and white to hide the contemporary, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the kind of ruling class, and everybody thinks, is when you see black people in film, they think it's got to be like some kind of political statement. But I see black people in the mirror every morning, so so it's not all political statements, that kind of thing. So, but in that film, there is kind of political statements. So the whole idea of like, for me, the statement is that I'm not centering like a ruling class. I'm not putting them at the center. So I think when a lot of films talk about African Americans or black people or maybe stuff here in France, it's either within conflict of the ruling class. So it actually puts the ruling class in the center. And so I think a lot of times my films had trouble in America because white people are very self-centered, so they want to see themselves. And then in these films, but they don't see themselves. Like they see it, so they have to like sit and watch other people intellectualize this craft of drag racing, so to speak. So they're so used to seeing themselves that's the political statement, where they're not at the center of the story. Yeah, they don't know what to say about them because they want to see people protesting and stuff like that. But then that puts them at the center because they understand that. Or they think they understand that. But here we have black people kind of interacting with each other and doing things that they do, and then it seems like they can't enter that space, whatever. So that's the kind of political gesture, whatever, just kind of not centering the ruling class, yeah. I think I think that's something that has to be looked back upon. Because you look back upon an era to see if that was influential to other people. Because I remember there was a so-called movement in the early 90s and that didn't, whatever. So you have to kind of look. So I think that's something that's when you study art history, you have to see what was influential, and if that's going to influence other people. So 5 years from now, I think you can look back and say, was that influential, so to speak? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hope so. You know, I hope it is. I'm Mr. Optimistic, but